probably thinking, wait a minute, I thought Grey's Anatomy started the whole moody minor key versions of classic songs and then every movie trailer after 2015. But you and I would be wrong. Also, that voice is Danny Elfman. And I know we all know that Danny Elfman creates incredible scores, and this was far from his first, but dang, it's iconic. So goofy and dark, but still fast-paced and upbeat. My favorite thing about this credit sequence is that at some point we switch from what is clearly live action footage from a helicopter to the model city, and it's easy to miss when it happens, especially given that there's a dissolve early on and things still look very real after. You almost don't even notice the second crossfade. Also, if you were only barely paying attention, you just got hella confused and thought your bestie turned on arachnophobia by accident. JK, this is arachnophobia. What are you doing, Alec? No touchy. I'll give Burton some credit for trying to hide how hot Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are. It definitely works for their characters, but I ain't tricked, bruh.
Honey, today I'm $260,000.
No,
This offer is real.
For funsies, that's almost $700,000 in today's dollarsies. But the funsies don't stop there, because house inflation outpaced the dollar, so it'd be over $725K. And legit, just looking at it, it'd probably be closer to $1 million, just on vibes.
This house is too big for you. It really ought to be for a couple with a family, you know? Oh, Pumpkin, I didn't mean anything. It's just that, really, this house is too big.
Hey, Jane, hope you fall off a bridge into a river if you get my drift. Ha, drift. There really has never been a happier couple to curse. They love each other and their lives so much they can't stop giggling and frolic running everywhere. Chekhov's Murder Dog. The thing about dark comedies or horror comedies, a horror-com as it were, or not, it could not be that. But the point is that you can take a scene of the main characters dying tragically and not only do none of us shed a tear, but the 7-year-old laughs along with the adults. How could I know this? Was it a mistake? Only time and therapy bills will tell. Also, love a movie that jumps right in. Bumper sticker says I break for animals. It should say I swerve to my death for animals.
Do you remember how we got back up here? I'm gonna go back down to the bridge and retrace our steps.
And as a person who's seen, not to brag, but at least half a dozen horror movies, I really love that Adam starts asking the important questions right away. Playing dumb or being dumb is kind of a staple of horror so that the ghouls can get you. But he figures it out quick. Well, I mean, not everything out, but you get my point. We barely see anything in the what is this, it's like Dune, the underworld, and Beetlejuice's Arrakis. Anyway, we don't see much, but the vibes say nope.
To show you something. Look.
I agree, that's an unsettling number of horse figurines. But I do love the obvious fake mirror and the person on the other side trying to match Gina's movements.
Handbook for the recently diseased.
Deceased.
The repeat of the musical cue, never not funny. What an idiot.
This book reads like stereo instructions. Geographical and temporal perimeters. Functional perimeters vary from manifestation to manifestation.
Sounds more like political speak to me. It's just saying that where you can go depends on the dead person.
Damn sandworm was 13%,
Also a bold choice to have this be the intro to the title character, and I love it.
And where are all the other dead people in the world? Why is it just you and me?
Maybe this is heaven.
Heaven, there wouldn't be dust on everything.
Haha, relationships. Also, Harry Belafonte's Deo is Chekhoving in the background.
In the book, rule number 2, the living usually won't see the dead.
Won't or can't?
That question, along with usually, are such great setups for the plot. There are some perks. And just like that, thousands of kids in 1988 immediately fell for Winona Ryder.
Delia hates it. I could live here.
I was one of those kids. A nose lick from Catherine O'Hara. That's the dream.
I mean, there's absolutely no organic flow-through.
And if you're thinking, Otho looks so familiar from one of Lee's other videos, you're right, Glenn Shaddix was also this senator. PG, you say? No worries, Jude laughed. I only peed a little.
Look.
And the force with which he shoves Barbara's body aside is hilarious. Also that she does technically exist in their plane, but they still won't see her.
Ugh. Deliver me from LL Bean.
You could be so lucky, but still incredible line.
If you don't let me gut out this house and make it my own, I will go insane and I will take you with me!
I really can't explain how happy I am that Catherine O'Hara finally has the cultural appreciation she has so long deserved. She's always been this good. Wait. Is she? No, let's hold off judgments for now.
Ghosts of the people who died in this house. They want us out of here.
Huh. And Jude correctly pointed out that they didn't die in this house, but otherwise, clairvoyance. Tim Burton has a style, doesn't he? His design carries over from film to film. This could easily be a character in The Nightmare Before Christmas, which Burton definitely directed himself. Sorry, Henry, you can have Coraline still. The entire family's outfits are so iconic. Lydia in her funeral veil, Charles with the biggest crest you've ever beheld on a sweater, and Delia. Delia's earrings that look like they'd rip your ears clean off your head, and a leather glove wrapped around her head. Epic, iconic, very nah. We'll stick with iconic.
We'll build you a dark room in the basement, okay?
My whole life is a dark room. One big, dark room.
Same, Lydia, same. But like, in a good way?
So you were miserable in New York City, and now you're going to be miserable out here in the sticks. At least someone's life hasn't been upheaved.
Optimism. Perfectly timed defenestration. Is it still defenestration if it comes from outside?
This is my art, and it is dangerous. You think I want to die like this?
Catherine O'Hara is always a win. And because Lydia seems obsessed with the macabre, we don't even question why she can see them. BJ's gone woke. We're my Nutmegger fans. So look, it's Route 4, not Highway 4 in Torrington. And in '88, it would still be a 203 area code, not 303. But this movie was shot in Vermont, so they made this truck sign, and it's pretty close to accurate otherwise.
Come on down now! Chew on the dog!
The pacing for the full character reveal is really on point. Not many movies can pull this off, and Jude thought it was hilarious, so kid approved. This scene stuck with me, although not the specifics of the dead people other than Tiny Head. Just that they go to a waiting room? Huh. Guess my real fear was always waiting. Also, the shark came with this guy, and on closer inspection, it has a knife in its head. So if you kill something that's killing you, you're stuck together in the afterlife? I mean, this guy brought his chicken bone, and this snake still seems alive. So I'm just trying to work the rules out here.
Number 54,601.
And even in the afterlife, bureaucracy is the absolute worst. Also, that snake in the sleeping bag is gonna haunt my dreams. NBD. No big surprise, the skeleton typists were a big Jude win.
How do I look? There are no mirrors on this side.
Fine, you look fine.
Thanks, I've been feeling a little flat.
The zipline is pretty genius. Jealous of the writers and artists that had to come up with all the character designs for the dead. While there are definitely things in the Neither world that are meant to scare or gross out, the general vibe is just off. Not that the vibe is off, the vibe is literally off. Everything just makes you want to leave. The crooked doors and floors, the papers everywhere, the general sense that everyone else knows what's going on and you're an idiot for not figuring it out. Actually, it's a lot like nightmares I've had. Huh. Bit of a chicken or egg situation. I'm gonna go check on Jude. I'm not sure if I should be worried or excited that there's a doggy door. It implies dog heaven, but also dog Beetlejuice. Fun fact, Jude immediately recognized the sculpture and knew they were back home. I didn't, and also had forgotten.
How long do you suppose we were waiting there?
3 months.
The key light and hair light popping on when she speaks.
We're very unhappy.
What did you expect? You're dead.
Yeah, fair.
What about that guy in the flyer, Beetle?
Don't even say his name. You don't want his help.
A title character who's actually the villain is a great move, especially when you don't know that's the plot. Hey, let's start with this. I think you should stay alive. This movie deals with suicide way more than I remembered, and I want you to know that there's help if you need it. For better or worse, the majority of it went over my head as a kid. Even the smoke coming out of her neck hole, which is awful. But it's helping me realize something I never really thought about before. The receptionist with the exquisite accent, this guy on the zipline, Juno, they all seemingly died by their own hand. Even Flat Guy may have purposefully stepped in front of a bus, meaning that in the Beetleverse, dying by suicide sends you to Afterlife DMV. But the part that never occurred to me is that BJ was Juno's assistant, so it takes a special movie to give you an insect's point of view against the title character who's about to eat you, especially if that insect reminds you of Jeff Goldblum. And almost 40 minutes in and we're still building anticipation for BJ's arrival.
Jeez, Lydia, is Connecticut so boring?
It's hard to scare people when their daughter already haunts them.
Cut it out! A child, for God's sakes.
Yes, this is a canoodling joke, and yes, it went right over my head until, well, this year. But my actual concern here is that ghost oohs and ahs are what's making her think that?
Are you the guys hiding out in the attic?
She's just beyond cool. Not scared, not shocked, just cool.
I'm not scared of sheets. Are you gross under there? Are you Night of the Living Dead under there?
Fair question. If you're wondering why they aren't, at the very least wet, they must have died right on impact.
Live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual.
If I met someone today who said, I myself am strange and unusual, I'd be like, that's not at all a cringy way to describe yourself. But seeing Winona say it just made me think, wow, she's so different. Tim Burton style mulcher? Chipper? Hey, those just don't look like pants. OMG, it's her husband's sweater.
It's him, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Go ahead, Barbara, say it.
Beetlejuice!
It's important to be a supportive partner to your spouse, dead or alive.
What happened?
I think we're in the model.
Always an expectation subversion. When you summon someone, you expect they'll be the ones coming out, but instead they're sent in. And even more so because he makes them work for it. They weren't even sure they wanted his help 5 minutes ago, and now they're putting in back-breaking labor to dig through corrugated cardboard and foam. Obviously amazing set, the details of model components all blown up, even worm trails on the coffin lid. What a stellar character intro shot. Even the way Keaton's body is so clearly on wires, his dead person magic is wonky. And extra points for the title character showing up in earnest over halfway through the movie.
It makes me want to kiss you guys. Come on, come on. Give me one. Come on, Maitland, huh?
The truth is, Keaton doesn't get enough credit for how unhinged he can actually be. This is 90% ad-libbed, and I mean, don't be a sex pest, but the fact that he assaults her once only to try it again amidst his insane salesman rambling is really something else and makes me fear for both Babs and Gina alike. And his character design with the teeth and the mold on his face is so iconic at this point that we often forget just how disgusting he looks.
Save that guy for later.
And is.
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that.
Keaton's normal voice always takes me out.
What do you think of this?
Theater of the mind. The audience doesn't see it, the characters do, and we're left to our imaginations. He did say he'd seen The Exorcist a lot.
I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time.
Adam, we have to get out of here.
I agree, but
I'll fix something to eat.
Home!
Great Dorothy instincts.
Nice f***ing model.
Nothing like a classic PG F-bomb.
You know what they say about people who commit suicide? In the afterlife, they become civil servants.
Just for a second, let's talk about why it's okay for language to change. From the time I was a kid and long before, we all used to say committed suicide. And when you stop and think about it for a second, you realize how odd that is, talking about someone's death while forcing a connection to the law at the time. At some point it became its own thing, like eavesdrop or mother-in-law, because like through marriage, the law makes her your mother, so when we say in-laws, it makes absolutely no sense. You with me? And suicide was so tied to committing that I understand why it's hard to pivot to something new, but now we say died of suicide because we have empathy, and also it's not a crime most places because that's stupid and doesn't really help anyone. Anyway, I just wanted to point out that Otho confirmed what I was talking about earlier. What an absolute classic banger of a scene. And it really sells the possession that the actors all totally go for it. Not to mention Harry Belafonte's Deo is an untouchable classic. Also love that Lydia is the only one unhaunted and thinks the whole thing is hilarious. I can distinctly remember wondering why the shrimp looks so disgusting, and the reveal is still actually worse than I ever expected.
I want you to come downstairs. Delia says you can wear any sheets you want.
And an amazing twist, just the instant acceptance that they're haunted. Amazing that everyone except Adam and Barbara understand how important that book is. The snakeskin transformation is subtle enough to slip by, but also obvious enough that you can totally catch it long before Delia. It's kind of funny at first, but the teeth, the eyes, it's a pretty scary design. I mean, at this point, even the stop motion makes it more terrifying. And obviously snake juice is terrifying, but even with the monster, those walls are making me very uneasy. The texture, colors, tones, values, all of it. I have a very visceral feeling of disgust towards the walls. Well done, Tim. So he can basically do anything, right? And his name makes him go away. He's like a grosser, easier to beat Mr. Mixius Spitlick.
I'm feeling a little, anxious, if you know what I mean.
What? You're literally covered in horns, otherwise known as... No? Well, if they were corn, you'd be corny, but they're horns, so you're... Hard to beat that dance. So, are these people also watching the BJ movie?
Never trust the living.
Words to live by. Corinth, Vermont. Shout out to Root School.
I know just as much about the supernatural as I do about interior design.
Right, because his design is bad. See, in the 80s and 90s, pop culture had a similar relationship to interior designers as they did to therapists. Which, if you've watched my Everything Great About Twister video, you know that relationship is not good.
By the time you read this, I will be gone.
Definitely thought she was running away as a kid. Honestly, it seemed like something BJ would help with anyway. Both of their scary faces kind of look like Muppet monsters, or more specifically, labyrinth monsters rejected by Bowie.
I don't think we survived that crash.
Is it an alive bit? They look pretty cold. Rugby, football, whatever.
You know, just turn around and look behind you.
Feels like cheating, but hey, charades rules are a bit fluctuating. The tongue and eye movement.
Oh, Adam, I can't go through with it. I like that little girl, Adam. I want to be with Lydia.
This tender moment about Lydia played out while they're terrifying ghouls somehow makes it land all the more. So this is how Alec was cast as the lead in The Shadow.
He's the genius who gave us the talking Marcel Marceau statue.
Ha, not bad. If I had a nickel for every time Marcel Marceau came up in a video, I'd have 2 nickels. But it is weird that it was the last video. I just think we need to take a moment to really acknowledge how subtly unhinged Catherine O'Hara is in this entire movie. Also, Lydia's hair in the last act of this movie is untouchable. The score just explodes out of nowhere for the establishing shot and immediately stops once we're inside.
Hans Vermillion.
I think Otho just likes colors that start in V.
Viridian. A corpse, and we rise to be.
And Burton liked this scene so much he made an entire other movie about it. Sorry, Mike, you can still have Ping Pong Rabbit.
That's enough now. Can you stop this? Otho.
It's too late, Charles. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that while the humans are bozos, they're not exactly cruel. They don't want to hurt anyone.
Okay, just help them.
Sure.
The delivery of sure. How does someone so disgusting have this much riz? Again, less than 15 minutes left and only one of the living characters knows BJ exists. Jack Skellington, not as much as Uguay's knows, but pretty decent.
That is why I won't do 2 shows a night anymore, babe.
We're really lucky that Keaton got a comeback. The world is a better place with more Keaton.
I think they've had enough exercise for tonight.
Exercise. The joke is that the very hip Otho would never be caught dead in a leisure suit, and yet Glenn Shaddix looked great in everything. It always blows my mind when I realize how long actors are in their famous outfits. 3 minutes and 24 seconds of the movie, and because you know me, I spent the time to figure out that it's a minute 50 of actual screen time. And all that is out of, well, some people say 17 minutes, others 14, but when I went through, Keaton's on screen for 11 minutes and 58 seconds, not including the snake. And to be fair, a portion of the suit time is with rolled up arms. I've always loved this glide from Lydia in her also iconic red wedding dress. The second we saw the sculptures, we knew Burton had a hand in them, which means we knew they were coming alive at some point. Gross but awesome. Even the teeth move when the mouth talks. And because I know it's less than 12 minutes of screen time, I finally understand how Keaton was able to keep this insane energy the entire movie.
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a big decision, isn't it? I mean, I always said if I ever did it, I was going to do it once, and that was it.
Otho doesn't seem to have any rules other than that his obsession with chaos means he'll never do the same trick twice. Lisan al-Gaib? Really a classic 80s ending. Do we ever find out how Barbara Muad'Dib'd the sandworm? No. Do we understand the Ant-Man physics of the model miniatures? Nah. Does it matter? Yes, it makes me like it more. Lydia looks a little brighter and happier, but she still has her black skirt under her school uniform, cause it's more than a phase, Dad.
We spent the whole week studying for that test.
I got an A.
I love how wholesome this is, especially given the hints early on that Adam and Barbara had trouble having kids. And Lydia never really fit in with her family, so it's like they adopted each other.
This thing reads like stereo instructions.
Tight callback. Also, was that the only jump scare in the movie? Aw, and Delia even made the cover of Art in America.
My agent Bernard is bringing a woman who writes for Art in America.
You have to love that float dancing to more Harry Belafonte is Lydia's idea of a reward, which is a line from the song.
She go up in the air, come down in slow motion.
Still a creep.
Whoa, hey, what are you doing? Hey, stop it! Hey, you're messing up here! Come on! Whoa!
Comeuppance? Yeah, sure, why not? I like the idea that because she's down with hanging out with the dead are stoked to hang with Lydia. Lydia saw dead people way before it was cool. What a simple premise, that the house is haunted by the living rather than ghosts. I think, is that like the tagline? Nope, I came up with it just now, first person in history. Awesome, yay for me. But it works. We connect with the Maitlands and despise the Deetzes, except Lydia, she's the bomb. Well, actually, Delia is pretty great in her own special way. Screw you. Even Otho has a special charm to him that you come to love. And really, that's all about the cast, whose praises I will continue to sing forever and ever. I mean, Alec and Gina are fairly milquetoast, but that's why we love them. Just leave them alone. The weirdest thing is that what I'm about to say is 100% true and also very odd because again, even if the terrible time counters are to be believed, he's only on screen for 18% of the movie. And since you know I'm right, it's closer to 13%. But even being in this movie titled after his character for less than a quarter of the runtime, it would not be the same without Michael Keaton. The dude goes for it hard. The best news I've heard come out of the sequel was from Keaton himself, that it would be a disservice to give BJ more screen time just because he's a fan favorite. One of the biggest reasons he works so well is because we're not exhausted by him at the end of the movie. Yeah, I saw the cartoon. Was it as good as this movie? I think you know the answer. Otherwise, it's a classic Tim Burton joint with all the quirks that make his movies work. And yeah, just like those 2 other movies I mentioned, Tim's not technically the director, so sorry Tim, you can still have 9 or The Addams Family. We have fun here at Burton Wins, don't we? For the record, Tim did direct BJ. This bit has spun out of control. Anyway, I'm stoked for it. Probably gonna scar myself and Jude to go see it in theaters. So, happy Halloween. Wait, it's September. Dang, I was hoping for Lumberjack Day, but that's the 26th. Happy World Beard Day, that's a good one. Next week, a movie I did not expect to like as much as I did.
You want a cigarette?
Oh, no, thank you.
I'm trying to cut down myself.